And the liberals who espouse things like, hey, you want to be an atheist? Great. You want to be a homosexual? Great. You know, you want to have an abortion on demand? That's great. We believe in that. When Islam takes power, all of that
stuff.
done. Homosexuals, they're gonna hang them like they do in the Middle East.
Yes.
All of these people who want to talk against the government, that's fine. Muslims like it until they get in power. Then what's going to happen when you start talking against the government? That's it. You're done. What's going to happen when you want to do your free thinking and when you want to press forward in your women's lib movement? Just like it says in Surah Al-Nisa, Surah 4, verse 34, "Udrabahuna," which means beat them. Beat your wives. Beat the women. The women are only half at best of the men. Most of the inhabitants of hell, according to Muhammad, are women. And these liberal Americans, not only are they not pointing out the problems with Islam and the threat and the danger, they are defending the Muslims. They're defending the Muslims. And they're supporting not just the Muslims, but the Muslims who are promoting radical
They are there for
ideology.
a surprise. They are there for a surprise.
In for a surprise, aren't they? Oh, boy. Well, let's continue reading this. I want to get through this article before we go to our first break and open up calls. We got a lot of news this week Muslims are making around the world today. But let's take a quick look at Thomas Jefferson, this myth that Thomas Jefferson somehow was interested in Islam because it was a beautiful religion. Capitol Hill staff said Ellison's swearing-in photo opportunity drew more media than they had ever seen in the history of the U.S. House. Ellison represents the 5th Congressional District of Minnesota. The Quran Ellison used was no ordinary book. It once belonged to Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the United States and one of America's founding fathers. Ellison borrowed it from the rare book section of the Library of Congress. It was one of 6,500 of Jefferson's books archived in the library. Ellison, who was born in Detroit, what do you think of that, and converted to Islam while in college, said he chose to use Jefferson's Quran. Why? Because, and I quote, it showed that a visionary like Jefferson believed that wisdom could be gleaned from many sources. Yeah, well, that's right. Let's see about that. There's no doubt. Ellison was right about Jefferson believing wisdom could be gleaned from the Muslim Quran. Oh. At the time Jefferson owned the book, he needed to know everything possible about Muslims because he was about to advocate war against the Islamic Barbary states of Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Tripoli. Most Americans don't know this history. You know, there's a song in the military.
Yes,
you know that song, right? We're going to sing that a little bit.
to Tripoli.
To Tripoli. Say, what happened with Tripoli? Was that Reagan and Libya in the 80s? No, that song. Gomer Pyle was singing that song, my friend. That was before Reagan. Think again. Ellison's use of Jefferson's Quran as a prop illuminates a subject once well known in the history of the United States, but which today is mostly forgotten. The Muslim pirate slavers who, over many centuries, enslaved millions of Africans and tens of thousands of Christian Europeans and Americans in the Islamic Barbary states. Muslim pirates. It's nothing new. Somalia is simply doing what Islam has done all along. Enslave, attack, murder, kill, subjugate. Over the course of 10 centuries, Muslim pirates cruised the African and Mediterranean coastline, pillaging villages and seizing slaves. The taking of slaves in pre-dawn raids on unsuspecting coastal villages had a high casualty rate. It was typical of Muslim raiders to kill off as many of the non-Muslim older men and women as possible so the preferred booty of young women and children could be collected. Young non-Muslim women were targeted because of their value as concubines in Islamic markets. Islamic law provides for the sexual interests of Muslim men by allowing them to take up to as many as 4 wives at one time and to have as many concubines as their fortunes allow. In other words, in the Quran it says you may have sex essentially with all that your right hand possesses, which is all of your slave women. More slaves, more sex. That's the idea. And I'm going to read this entire article for time's sake, but I do want to read just a little bit more. When American colonists rebelled against British rule in 1776, American merchant ships lost Royal Navy protection. With no American Navy for protection, American ships were attacked and their Christian crews enslaved by Muslim pirates operating under the control of the Dey of Algiers, an Islamist warlord ruling in Algeria. Because American commerce in the Mediterranean was being destroyed by the pirates, the Continental Congress agreed in 1784 to negotiate treaties with the four Barbary states. Congress appointed a special commission consisting of John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin to oversee the negotiations. Lacking the ability to protect its merchant ships in the Mediterranean, the new American government tried to appease the Muslim slavers. Appeasement.
That's what's happening today. Exactly.
They need to learn a lesson from Neville Chamberlain. You remember Neville Chamberlain? He's the one who went to Hitler and he came back with a letter. I don't know if you've ever seen that picture. Back in 1939, he says, "Peace in our time." He held up a letter. Supposedly he had negotiated an agreement with Hitler. He wasn't going to attack anymore. And everybody, "Oh, that's wonderful, that's wonderful." And then like the next year, Hitler went in and attacked everybody, including England itself. Well, that's what the United States tried to do. They really didn't have any other choice because at that time they didn't have a navy. And the Muslims were taking advantage of this, not only for money, for monetary, but they were getting slaves, and they were able to confiscate whatever merchant goods were on those American ships. Let's continue reading. Adams argued in favor of paying tribute as the cheapest way to get American commerce in the Mediterranean moving again. Jefferson was opposed. He believed there would be no end to the demands for tribute.
Yes.
And wanted, and he was right, and wanted matters, he didn't know how right he was, wanted matters settled through the medium of war. He proposed a league of trading nations to force an end to Muslim piracy. Now this is very interesting. Muslims are always saying that Islam is peaceful, this, that, and the other thing, but just wait and see what we have out of the mouth of Muslim diplomats of Muslim countries to the United States commission sent from the United States to France to meet with them. They're wondering, they're asking, why are you Muslim nations attacking the United States of America? You've never even had any relationship with us ever before. We're a brand new nation.
No grievances.
We haven't attacked you. As a matter of fact, yeah, we just came into existence. Well, it's very interesting. Listen very carefully. In a later meeting, that is in France, in a later meeting with the American Congress, the Americans wanted to negotiate a peace treaty based on Congress vote to appease. During the meeting, this meeting in France, Adams and the American ambassador actually went to London and met with Sidi Haji Abdul Rahman Adja, the Dey of Algiers ambassador to Britain. What did he say? They went and they began to negotiate peace because the situation was so dire that the United States government was paying as much as 20% of their entire national budget to these Muslim terrorists so they would stop taking slaves and stealing all of our goods. In a later meeting with the American Congress, now listen very carefully, viewers, the two future presidents, that's Jefferson and Madison, reported that Ambassador Sidi Haji Abdul Rahman Adja had answered. They asked, why are you Muslim countries attacking the United States? What have we done? This is the answer of the Muslim diplomat from these Muslim countries in about the year 1786 is the year, 1786. He says, Islam was founded on the laws of its prophet, and it was written in the Quran that all nations who should not acknowledge Islam's authority are sinners, that it was the Muslims' right and duty to make war upon them wherever they could be found, and to make slaves of all they could take as prisoners, and that every Muslim or Muslim who should be slain in battle was sure to go to paradise. Where in the world would this Muslim diplomat in the year 1786 get such a contorted view of Islam? Or could it be that all along the very same view that was in the mind and heart of Muhammad, that was to fight and slay the unbeliever wherever you find them, Surah 9 verse 5, to fight the people of the book until they pay the jizya and feel themselves saghirun or humiliated, Surah 9 verse 29, that Muhammad said, I've been ordered to fight to fight everyone until they say that there is no God but Allah and that I am His prophet. That very same idea, the surah of the sword, that was the very same idea in the time of Muhammad, in the time of the Umayyads, in the time of the Abbasid, in the time of the Fatimid, even in Egypt, the Shia. All through the history of Islam, even in Andalusia, if you will do more careful research, until 1786 and the inception of the United States of America, Muslim pirates are fighting jihad in the name of Allah. They are quoting the Quran in order to fight, to kill, to imprison, to enslave Christians under the banner of Islam in 1786, the United States of America. Can you believe it? Well, it's very interesting. If you ever listen to the song of the Marine Corps, I guess it's their theme song.
Yeah, it's still their theme song.
Yeah. Was it from? How does it go again? From the shores? No, from the halls of Montezuma. Here it is. Jefferson's victory over the Muslims lives on today in the Marine hymn with the line, "From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli." Yes. Tripoli. Where'd that come from? That's from the Muslim jihadists who continued to attack the United States of America in the 1780s. It says the problem wasn't completely ended until 1815. And how was it ended? Was it ended by giving Muslims Sharia law in the United States? Was it ended by appeasing
Giving
them?
money? No.
Yeah, no. It says the problem was fully settled by the total defeat of all the Muslim slave trading pirates. Jefferson had been right. The medium of war was the only way to put an end to the Muslim problem. Mr. Ellison was right about Jefferson. He was a visionary, wise enough to read and learn about the enemy from their own Muslim book of jihad known as the Quran. Well, we have a lot more news. We want to hear your views, and we want to discuss more about this idea. Muslim pirates, Islam from its inception until today has had one theme: to fight and slay the unbelievers wherever you find him. Things happening all over the world, coast to coast, Muslims causing problems, being arrested for terrorist plots, not just here but in Europe, around the world. Muslim pirates in Somalia attacking vessels. The country is just going chaotic. All over the world we have Muslim leaders telling Muslims in Western countries to be subversive, to fight, to kill, even their own comrades in the United States and the British military. What's taking place? What's the answer? Is it not Islam itself? It's not the Muslim people. Is it not the religion of Islam, the spirit of Islam? Is that not what's taking place? And all of these fruits are anything but peaceful. Jesus told us to judge a tree. You'll know a tree by its fruits. All of the fruits in all of the Muslim nations are not peaceful. It's chaos, it's violence, it's killing, it's hatred, it's jihad, it's murder. It's all sorts of terrible things. We want to hear from you right here at News and Views after we take this short break. We'll take that break right now. I guess we won't take. Are we going to take a break? Can someone help us? That's okay. We don't need a break. Praise the Lord. If they won't give us a break, we'll just keep right on talking. I tell you what, you know, around here it's okay. We don't need any special effects because we're live and we're ready to answer whoever might call. But in the meantime, since we're waiting for our technicians to get in gear, we're going to continue giving the news.
I want to make a statement here. What we're talking about, it's not happening only against Western civilizations.
Yeah.
It's happened against themselves.
Right.
Who's calling who in Iraq?
Right. Muslims. Muslims killing Muslims. Muslims killing Christians, but still,
What's happening? What is happening in Yemen?
Shia Muslims killing Sunni Muslims and Sunni killing Shia.
So it looks to me like a self-destruct.
Yeah.
It's a self-destruct thing. If you do not find something to fight about, create something to fight about.
Right. Yeah.
And then self-destruct yourself.
Well, you know, we're both Arab. I'm half Arab. You're full Arab. And I'm sure you've heard, and those who aren't Arab haven't heard, but most of the Arabs out there know. You remember what the Muslims, the Arabs, years and years ago, they had a big